Hello. I'm going to test this really quick just to see if it's working, because I'm trying all the platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So let's see, is it working? It's hard to tell if I'm live or not. I don't know. Is it working? Technology. Oh, there we go. Let's see. Am I frozen on Instagram? No, it looks like it. Okay. So, hello. My name is Holly, and I am broadcasting to you today from my Astoria, Oregon studio, where I am participating in the, oh good, you can hear me, yay, technology. This is the first time I've used a platform that can stream all of the platforms at once, and I can get comments all at once, and so I was a little nervous about it not working. So if you can't hear me or there's something that you can't see, let me know, and I'll do that. So today I am going live to you from my studio for the Crafty Wonderland virtual market in October. They're doing multiple markets. There's one in November and in December. And this one obviously is in October, even though it feels like we're still in March. But it's a way to support our many artists and makers of the Crafty Wonderland community. Normally, the ladies of Crafty Wonderland, Tori and Kathy, they're phenomenal. They're wonderful ladies. They put on this humongous show twice a year at the Oregon Convention Center, and we kind of can't do that right now. So this is a way to kind of support everyone. And with it being in October right now, you can get your holiday shopping started right now. Like, that's a good idea, right? You totally can. So I have two things for you to go to after this broadcast. You can go to craftywonderland.com. That is their website. That's where they have all of the vendors who are participating in this market. It's pretty much like they have a really focused directory of all of the vendors, and then you can go shop on each vendor's website. And it just made everything simplified, and then there's no funky Zoom call that you have to participate in or anything. So yay. And then my website is marshmueller.com. That's where you can go and explore all of the new stuff. I just posted a ton of new stuff. Like, I spent all week having very, very late night photo shoots and shooting all of my new product that I've spent months making just to try to keep, to get my inventory back in stock. Last fall, I don't know if you're aware, but I announced my breast cancer diagnosis last fall, and I had some incredible people offer their support and practically buy me out of my inventory last fall. So I've just now gotten to the point where everything is back in stock. So I've been shooting everything this week and editing it, and now it's all up on the site, and it's a huge breath of fresh air. So that's where you can go. Again, I will show that to you again, marshmueller.com. And this weekend through midnight tomorrow night, I am offering free shipping for all US orders. And the reason for that is because I want you to support all of my other maker and artist friends on who are also participating in the Crafty Wonderland market. So I'm offering free shipping because other folks may need to charge for shipping to cover all of their costs. They may have heavier items, but I'm offering a little freebie with free shipping this weekend. So I'm going to do a studio tour. I'm going to take my laptop around. I'm going to grab a drink of coffee really quick. And this is my Bob Easy Peasy mug. I found it at Target and I cherish it because I love Stranger Things. Okay, so we're going to take a view around the studio. This will be interesting with a laptop, so we'll see. Okay, so first and foremost, let's go right here. This is where the magic happens. This is my sewing machine. I sew on a Bernina B350, and I'll get a little closer. It is the Tula Pink edition, so naturally it's pretty. And all of my tools are really handy. I also have a serger that needs rethreading. And all of my thread And then this area is where I have supplies, where I have pre-cut materials. A lot of times I'll try to pre-cut things in bulk, so then that reduces the amount of time that it takes me to cut things out for wholesale orders or retail orders. And then this shelf is a bunch of fabrics and, you know, Hello Kitty stuff, because I collect that. And then this shelf right here is all of my main fabric. So I typically buy fabric by the bolt from manufacturers themselves. And that way it helps keep my costs down, and I'm able to have a little more longevity with fabrics. Because if you didn't know, fabric does eventually go out of print. It's almost kind of like books, where eventually they stop printing it. So if it's a really good print, I try to buy as much as possible just so that I can have it as long as I can. And then this area right here is my cutting table. It's a little messy, but you know what? If you are exploring a maker's studio and it's not messy, then it means that they just clean and it'll be messy again. Like, that's just how it is. Okay. And then this area right here is all of my inventory. Look at those full bins. They're all full. And there's shipping boxes and then a light, because I did a live e-commerce Q&A yesterday, because I'm a part of a creative group that does that. And then these are super cool built-ins. So our house was built in 1940. We're the third owners of the house. We actually got a scrapbook of our house, of photos of our house being built, and we're the third owners. And so we're really happy that, you know, the house had stayed in the family for that long. And so having a house in the 1940s means super nifty things like these built-ins, and those have all of my packaging. I have patterns in there and other materials that I don't use as often. And then moving along, this is the whiteboard, which we've kind of switched from my order queue to remote learning, because that's where we are right now. And paper and printers and a very messy desk. That's where I get a lot of admin work done. I also do, let me see if I can get this straight. There we go. I also do a lot of freelance work for an agency called AO Lydia. They make phenomenal Shopify websites, either from scratch or doing theme setups. And I am their Shopify and marketing consultant. So I work a lot with Klaviyo, which is a newsletter platform, and MailChimp and that sort of thing. So that, oh, and then there's one more area I'll show you. And it's right here. This is my son's desk. This is where he does remote learning. My other son has enough room in his room, and he has a desk. And so my youngest is in kindergarten. So that means that he needs a little bit more supervision. So I get to work up here while he has his kindergarten classes. So it's a win-win, which is really great. So did anyone have any questions about my studio? Any shade you want to throw about the mess or anything? I don't know if I can see comments from everywhere. We'll see. Can't post comments to some destinations. Let's take a look. Okay, well, apparently I can read all of it. So I'll watch this later and find that there are missing comments on every platform. But anyway, you can always DM me and be like, I can't comment. You're not seeing my comment. So anyway, next thing, I want to show you some new things in the shop. So one thing is that with this pandemic, it's made me realize that I need to have a little more flexibility with my product line. And I wanted to offer things that I didn't have to make every single time, because it's kind of exhausting. I mean, I've been in cancer treatment. I'm still in cancer treatment. I'm still getting chemo, and having to make every single thing I sell is really taking its toll. And so I'm actually kind of grateful that we're not doing in-person shows, just because I really tend to not have good time management skills, and I push myself and I stay up late. Oh, wait, I did that this week. But anyway, no, it's a longer time that I'm pushing myself instead of just a week. So I'm kind of, it's a silver lining, I guess, of the pandemic, is that that I don't have to push myself so much just to get everything made up. You can just post it online and then it's done and people can buy it, or, they can share it, that sort of thing. So, but I am pivoting my business a little bit. I recently got into illustration. Actually, I've been illustrating for some time, and now I've just gotten more and more into it. And I found it to be a really relaxing way to just chill out and express myself and hone my skills. And I know a lot of people don't think that they can draw. And drawing is one of those things where it just takes practice. You can get better at it. You just keep practicing at it. You just got to keep doing the work. And honestly, that's a lot of the mantras of a lot of artists and makers who are participating in this market is we put in the work. And a lot of times it might seem like some folks are instant successes, but they've truly been at it for years. And this is my 9th year in business. And yeah, so it takes a lot of work. I don't know if I'd ever say everyone should be an entrepreneur because it takes a certain type of person and it's a lot of work. So, but I wanted to show you some new things that I am bringing to my line. Let's adjust the laptop. Don't mind this polyfill. We're going to use that in a minute. Okay, so one thing that we're going to make today that I'm going to show you is this Dumpster Fire plushie. I illustrated this just kind of thinking about everything happening. It's not necessarily 2020, at least for me, because last year was really, really crappy. But this year isn't so great either. So Spoonflower had a cut and sew panel contest, and I entered my Dumpster Fire cut and sew panel. And it's a fat quarter size, which means it's 18 by 22. And I won 5th place. And it was the first time I'd ever entered a contest on Spoonflower. And yeah. Oh, I've got a question from Lindy. Any advice for crafters making the switch to business owners? What do you wish someone told you when you first started? Oh, that's a really, really good question, Lindy. Thanks for asking that. I'd have to say, watch your expenses and be really just be really strict on your business spending, and also get a business bank account and just get legit from the get-go, like a business license. Check your municipality to see if you need a city license, get a separate business bank account. And yeah, I also recommend reading up a lot. The E-Myth Revisited is a really good book. I recently read Profit First and have been implementing that, and that has been truly phenomenal for my business finances and making sure I save enough for taxes. So yeah, mostly on the super boring, legit side. That's really what I advise to take care of first. So, okay, but this is the panel, and we're going to make this today. And I won 5th place on Spoonflower, and it was the first time I entered a contest, and it was super fun. And I've actually had a lot of folks who are interested in either buying the panel or they are interested in me sewing the plushie for them. So the Dumpster Fire panel is on my site right now. If you go to gifts and then gifts again, or you can go to gifts and DIY kits, that's where you can find it. Or on my site, you can just search for Dumpster Fire because I've tagged it. So my site, again, is marshmueller.com. That's where you can buy the Dumpster Fire panel. And I actually have created a DIY kit that will be sold in stores once the materials get in here. And so the DIY kit is a pre-order, actually, as is the plushie too. But in the kit, you'll get this nifty little front card. Wanted to make it look like it's like all retro. And then sewing instructions where I've made illustrations on how to sew it. So even if you only have a hand needle at home and you don't have a sewing machine, you can totally make this. And you'll get some embroidery floss in some colors, just so if you want to embellish your plushie with some embroidery floss beforehand, you could totally do that. So another thing I wanted to show you that it's not on the website yet, but just keep your eyes peeled. I also made a pre-printed embroidery cloth of the Dumpster Fire, which you can see here. Let me see if I can center it. There we go. And I'll show you what that looks like stitched, because I spent a couple of D&D sessions. Yes, I stitch while I play D&D. Don't at me. It helps me focus my brain on what's happening in my D&D session. But so I do embroidery. So this is what it looks like. I did a chain. Did I do a chain stitch on this one? Yes, I did. I did a chain stitch on the dumpster itself and then a back stitch on the flames. And that's what that looks like, all stitched up. So I plan to launch kits as soon as I can get my hoops and my thread, which are taking their sweet time. But yeah, what it'll come with is the pre-printed cloth. So then you don't have to do any tracing or any of that stupid stuff, because I don't know about you, but I'm not very good at tracing or transferring embroidery patterns onto fabric. I always end up like missing it somehow. And then some other thing that I'm working on, and I haven't told anyone about this, so you're the very first ones to see that this is happening. So I am doing a Bridges of the Oregon Coast series of embroidery patterns. And so this was my mock-up, and I haven't actually stitched the whole cloth yet, but I just got my printed cloth of the Megler Bridge. I had to simplify it a bit. It's not exact to the Megler Bridge. Let me get one that's not. I should have pressed this beforehand. I'm a stickler for pressing. But yeah, that is the Megler Bridge. And that is the bridge that you see when you come into Astoria, Oregon. And it's a huge, huge, huge bridge. There's a run that goes across it, and I think it's like 6 miles that they have once a year. Of course, now it's a virtual run and they're not running across the bridge, but hopefully soon we'll get to run across the bridge once more. So that's the Megler Bridge, and I will be stitching that up, not on this broadcast though, but probably during my next D&D session. And then the next bridge that I've got, I don't think you can see it very well. We'll have to see. It is the bridge in Depot Bay. And so I like to test these out on by transferring the pattern, which isn't my favorite, but I transfer the pattern onto just some plain cloth and I stitch it out just to make sure, because I tend to overcomplicate a lot of the bridge illustrations. So I want to make sure that I get it right and that it's a little more simplified. So that's what's coming in the shop soon. It's super exciting. And then I also launched a line of stickers this year, because you can't get into illustration without getting into stickers. So this is also on my site. And then this is super brand new. I just listed this today. When Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed, I was at chemo. I was actually at my chemo session when the news came out, and it just broke my heart. We've lost so many people to cancer this year. We've lost Kelly Travolta. We've lost Chadwick Boseman. We've lost Eddie Van Halen. I mean, come on. Cancer just totally sucks right now. And so that night after I got home from chemo, I wanted to do something. I wanted to do something, and I felt really anxious. And so I drew her descent collar, just because I feel like, there we go, trying to position it in the center so that way Instagram Live can get it. I drew her descent collar in a heart, and I just felt like I really connected with her, not just because of what she did, but just she fought cancer 3 times, 3 different cancers while working. And she was in law school while her husband was fighting cancer. I mean, if that's not the definition of a badass, then I don't know what is. So she was an incredible person. She fought for far too long, and I just wanted to honor her with that. And so I have this as a sticker, and then I also have it as a t-shirt that you can get in the shop under apparel. And yeah, there'll be more things to come about that. So, all right, let's get started making the Dumpster Fire plushie. Let's see how I can, well, I know with a phone, I have a mount, so this will be a little bit different. Let's see, we're gonna grab our panel right here, and I'm gonna press it because I'm a stickler for that. So if you order this and you decide to make it the DIY kit and you're gonna make it yourself, I do recommend popping it in the wash and the dryer, just because I like things pre-washed. And so, yeah, just pop it in the washer and the dryer. Renee says she needs that RBG sticker. Yay. I do have a deal on my site where I think if you buy a certain amount of stickers, you'll get one free. So you can always look to see what stickers are in my shop and then pick one from there. All right. So we're going to try to angle this so you can see my ironing board. This is one of my projects for the winter when I'm not making a whole bunch of items, is to recover my ironing board. It's obviously seen some love. And I'll show you the fabric that I'm going to use for it. I'm going to cover it with this. So soon you will see new shots of this lovely ironing board that doesn't look like it's been very used. So we're just going to press out the Dumpster Fire. Come on. And this is my favorite iron in the world because it does this. It's magical. I love it so much. And my mother-in-law got one for her birthday from my amazing brother and sister-in-law. And at first I thought I was like, I'm not going to need that. I don't need that. And then I got one and now I can't live without it. And now whenever I use an iron elsewhere, like when I was at Craftcation, which is one of my favorite conferences in the world, they're doing, hopefully we'll be able to get together at Craftcation next year. But it's one of my favorite conferences in the world. We were doing some sewing and I had to consciously think about, don't leave the iron down. Don't leave the iron down. And there was one moment where I had to run back to the irons and make sure that I had not left the iron down because I got a little too used to the Oli sew. All right, so next we're going to cut this panel out. We've got scissors. These are my favorite. These are Kai's. They're really inexpensive shears, at least for, compared to like Ginger. And they're really lightweight and they are my favorite. I'm on my second pair and there's a lot of sewists that will attest that Kai's are the thing to use. Okay, so we're cutting this guy out. And this panel has some super nifty little dashed lines to make it super, super easy to cut out. I tried to cut it as close as possible on that dotted line, just so both sides of this panel match. We're just going to cut it out. I should have prepped like Martha Stewart does on her show and had a cutout panel already ready to go. That's some studio magic there. All right, cutting this guy out. All right, so we've got one cut out. Toss my scraps. I try to clean as I go. It doesn't always happen, but I really try to clean as I go. Otherwise, it makes the studio a huge, huge, huge mess really, really quickly. And we just keep cutting. Come on, there we go. Oops. I feel like I'm typing while everyone is looking over my shoulder. That's what cutting fabric while on live internet TV feels like. And I did shoot a YouTube video on how to make this plushie too. So again, if you're not super confident in your sewing skills, you can follow along. I still need to edit the video and put it together, but this show kind of superseded my productivity with that. I can only do like one big project at a time. So once that YouTube video is all edited and ready to go, then that will be up on my YouTube channel. All right, so one thing that I wanted to show you is there are instructions on sewing the panel right here too. So if you buy the kit, you'll get nifty instructions. Oh, as I bent it, I'm waiting on the cards. I just ordered them, but you'll get these nifty instructions that have like little hand illustrated icons. This one's my favorite where you're stuffing it. I think it's really funny. Stuff it. And yeah, so even if you're not super confident in your sewing abilities, then, you can follow along. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to take both of these panels and they look kind of opposite, and that's on purpose. And then what you're going to do is you're going to place one right side up and then the other one right on top of it and try to get it as close as possible. This one's a little teensy bit off. There we go. Okay, and you can choose to pin it or you can choose not to pin it. I am to the point where I don't pin a lot of stuff, but that's just me. So you can always pin it together. See, wrong side to wrong side. The right sides are facing one another inside. Okay, let's move over to the sewing machine. I'm going to stitch it together. And I should have threaded my machine in white because right now it's black. And that's not going to work, but I will quickly adjust that. So let's see if we can get this camera set up. Okay. Okay. And I usually keep white thread and my white bobbins handy and ready to go a lot of times, just because I tend to switch from that and black often. If you are familiar with my work, you do know that I use a lot of top stitching. And so, but a lot of times when I'm stitching things that don't need top stitching, or it's the inside of the product that doesn't have the top stitching yet, I usually use black or white because I get them in the really, really big spools of thread. Oh, this one was prepping black. All right. So yeah, these are the size of the spools of thread that I get. They're big. So, all right, we're going to thread this bad boy really quick. One thing I love about my Bernina, and I will tell you that if you're interested in buying a Bernina, they're on the more expensive side, but I can thread it like right by now. Well, once I get it through the needle, but now it's threaded and it only took seconds. So that makes me very, very happy. Okay. So one thing with this panel, what you'll want to do is you'll want to make sure that you're starting and stopping in certain portions. So on the sample pillow that I made, I started and stopped and left an opening about this big along the bottom. And the reason I did that is because it's kind of flat, which will make it a little bit easier to hand stitch closed. You can always do the sides, but don't do the corners. Don't start and stop on the corners, because that might just mean you have a harder time getting that going. Okay, I think we're ready to sew. I'm just going to this panel, trying to line it up a little bit better. Okay, starting at the bottom, and I'm going to leave myself about an inch or inch and a half. Okay, and I might have to turn my noise down just to make sure it's not too loud. Okay. Oh, and I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I backstitch, which means that you go backward and then forward at the beginning and the end of each stitch. And the reason why that sewists usually do that is because they want to secure the seam. Now let's just double check. This one didn't line up as perfect as the plushie that I have made before. So I just want to make sure that I got all of these corners, because I tend to not only stitch at less than a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but sometimes I'll go even less than that. And that means that sometimes I miss it. So I have to just inspect it. Okay. One thing that we are going to do is we're going to clip these corners, because as you can see, there's curved edges. And if you want this to kind of behave as it should, once you flip it around, you'll want to snip these corners. And what it does is it just kind of helps that fabric lay flat. I do this for all of my bibs because I have a bib right here. How handy is that? This interior right here is curved, and if you don't clip it, then it's really hard to work with, and it just doesn't lay flat, and it doesn't move as well. So I am really meticulous in my work in making sure that I clip my corners. So we're just going to do that here. I mean, typically when it's an outside curve like this, you'll actually want to do notches, but just clipping it is totally fine. Clip, clip, clip. Usually if I have a big wholesale order, I will get all of my bibs ready, get them all stitched on with the right sides together. Then I take my whole pile of bibs downstairs and watch some Netflix while I clip the interior neck curves. You just have to be really careful when you clip, not to clip through where you stitched. So as you can see, it's got like little notches, and I didn't clip through the stitching right here. Okay, we're gonna flip this over. You're just going to stuff it through the hole that you left in the bottom. You're just going to stuff it through. Come on. And just push that out. And then what you're going to do is you're going to use your fingers just to kind of make sure that those corners are getting pushed all the way out. Stuff it all the way. Okay, then, do you think we're ready to stuff? We are not, because we're going to press it. I'm a stickler for pressing, guys. That's why I really stand by my quality of my work, and pressing is a lot of it. If you're ever like, oh, I don't want to bust out my iron, you're going to be so much happier when you did. So let's go back over to the ironing board. Who says sewing is not an active sport? I do a lot of sitting and standing because of sewing, because I'm usually coming back and forth from my machine to my ironing board. Okay, let's try to get these corners a little further out. Sometimes it just takes some fussing with. All right, so we got those seams really flat. We're going to just press it. And then you see the raw edge right here. What you're going to do is you're just going to kind of carefully tuck it in just to make it nice and flush with the rest right there. And then you're just going to press that. And what that does is it'll make it, I should move this so you can see it. It just makes it a lot easier when you're hand stitching it closed. All right, there's our front and our back. Looking good. All right, let's get to stuffing. One thing that is newer for this for me is figuring out, I'm going to go this way because I think the lighting is a little better. Where did my stuffing go? We lost the bag of stuffing. Where did it go? Another thing that I do a lot in my studio is looking for where I placed things, because I often will place something somewhere and say, I am not going to forget where this is. And then I forget where it is. So, aha. For some reason, it ended up clear over there. Maybe the cat got in it and she really likes this stuffing. Okay, so basically what I'm using is polyfill, fiberfill. You could just get this at Joann's or any craft store, but it's basically just, you know, the innards of a, you know, stuffed animal. You can also use like old rags and stuff if you want to, but I will let you know that you might be mindful of like dark fabrics if you're using rags and kind of reusing them, just because this is white and I just don't want you to be disappointed if you stuff it with those and you can see those through. So then you're just going to stuff this in here. Pull all of this out. It's so hard to determine just how much a plushie will need. I will say that I think that the first plushie used, this is a 12-ounce bag. I think the first plushie used half of this. Oh, my husband says, did the cat take it? So we have a new cat. Here, I'll go this up. We have a new cat. Her name is Ahsoka. She's amazing and also kind of a butt. And she loves to come into my studio and take what we call her babies. And it's either like pieces of stuffing, or I've been working with some Pendleton wool, or like wool remnants. She wants to just take them and she'll take them downstairs. She'll like take them in her mouth and take them downstairs. So we're like, okay, you just got another baby. You got all of your babies, all of this, you know, scraps from my studio. That's what she likes to do. So while we're doing this stuffing game, does anyone have any questions or anything you'd like to know? Ask me anything. Again, I hope these comments are really coming through, because if they're not, then I'm really sorry. Sometimes I just like to fuss with it a little bit just to make sure it's not clumped together too much. And you just keep stuffing. Like I said, it takes a lot. More than you think it would. Because the stuffing is usually bigger in volume than the pillow itself. Because you just jam it in there. All right. Thanks everyone for joining me. I know that some of us would rather be out and doing something else on a Saturday, especially our weather is particularly beautiful. It's very cold, but it's very beautiful outside. And it'd be really nice to just to go to a restaurant and have a beer. But right now, a lot of us aren't doing that. And so thank you for joining me in my somewhat messy studio and watching me make a dumpster fire plushie. I think it might be the epitome of 2020, wouldn't it? Okay. So we're going to get all of these corners. So that's one thing is you'll want to make sure that you start stuffing toward, so here's your hole, like the hole where you're stuffing. You'll want to start to stuff this way and then work your way toward the end. Okay, well, it's not as stuffed as I would like it because I really like to make sure that it's really stuffed. So as you can see with this finished one, this is the finished one. This one still needs a little bit of love. So I need to locate my stuffing. But I won't bore you with trying to dig through my area to try to find more stuffing. But once you're done stuffing it, what you can do is you get it as, as full as possible. Then you're going to take this little opening right here and you're going to take a hand needle and some thread and you're going to whip stitch it closed. Just like that. And there are instructions in the DIY kit on how to do that. There's your whip stitch instructions right here on step 6. And even if you've never hand sewed before, you can always go to YouTube for sewing instruction. That's where I found how to English paper piece was YouTube. So you can always do that. And again, in my video that I will post soon, you'll see me doing that in the video. So if no one has any other questions, thanks again for joining me. And again, shameless plug alert, hang on. Be sure to go to craftywonderland.com and check out the list of vendors who are participating in this October market. And then last but not least, where did my shameless plug go? It is somewhere. It is right here. You can go to my website at marshmuller.com and that's where you'll get free shipping through tomorrow on everything there. And there's a whole bunch of new stuff, including more stickers and apparel and the DIY kit that you can pre-order. And yeah, that's it. Thanks again for joining and have a good rest of the day, guys.